We just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends. So
you've been lying
let's
about
pull
my
that back. I'm
press
happy to
colleagues all
explain what I
morning
do
as well,
think.
so.
Well, you actually can't say it because I didn't say it. The whole point of your question was to be like, you're a scary racist.
Well, I haven't
And
actually
my
finished my
response is, no,
question.
I'm not. Okay, well, how about no more lying in your questions, and then I'll answer it.
This is the same theory, or as you say, idea, that has inspired the New York Buffalo shooting where 11 black Americans
come
were killed.
on. Just today, Julian Assange was released after 12 years. 12 years in custody. And your government did nothing. The UK made it possible, and the United States demanded it. You tell me how that's consistent with the rule of law or democracy. It's not.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey Veracity, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl VeraMoore, and I'm back with another reaction video. Today guys, I'm going to be reacting to Tucker Carlson. Hey! So this is Tucker Carlson's response to Julian Assange's release during Australia's speech. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Alright guys, without much ado, let's get right into it.
Please welcome to the stage the one and only, from the United States, here just for us, Tucker Carlson.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I try not to listen to intros, but we got to the most famous journalist in the world, I thought. Is that really a compliment? That's like being the hottest Supreme Court justice. You know, the best restaurant in Ouagadougou. Not sure it's a prize that means that much. I'm a little ashamed to be a journalist, but I'm grateful to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I've loved your country from afar my entire life. I've idolized Australia. Actually, I haven't been here until a week ago, but I had this view of Australia in my mind, of handsome, brave men fighting off dangerous animals, of beautiful women standing windblown in the surf, and it's all true. So I really have loved it. We've been, I think, to 5 cities, and I've just been completely and utterly impressed. And really sort of the only downside is I've given speeches in a lot of them, and I felt guilty during every one, because rule 1 of being in someone else's country is don't talk to them about their politics. There's something awful about that, overbearing. I lived in Washington, our capital city. It's actually not so different from Canberra, weirdly. I guess all capital cities are the same. But we would get this sort of continuous retinue of foreigners showing up to lecture us, Bono showing up, and I'd always think, go back to Dublin. More, you know, like, what do you know? You're not even an American. So with that caveat, my apologies for having anything to say about your politics, which I don't really understand, except in the sort of grossest terms. But the Assange news today just had me thinking so much about Australia. Congratulations, by the way. That happened when I was on the plane, and my jaw was open for the rest of the flight this morning from Perth. It's something that I think anyone who knows anything about the case, and that would include most Australians, is thrilled to see. Anybody who knows anything about that case and believes that Assange should still be in prison is your enemy, by the way, and the enemy of human freedom and flourishing. It was monstrous that he spent 12 years locked away for exposing other people's crimes. Typically the way it works, I don't know if law enforcement's the same here, but the guy who discovers the crime doesn't go to jail. It's the guy who commits the crime goes to jail. And that's been inverted in his case. So I think it's wonderful news, as you all know. He's in Guam dealing with one of our colonial magistrates. I didn't know even we had those, but we do apparently in the United States. And then he'll be flying here where he was born. And my impression is, I was texting with his wife this morning, my impression is he plans to stay here for a while. And so I think, you know, that's a huge net benefit to your country because he's a good man. I know him. I visited him a few months ago in Belmarsh Prison and saw how they were effectively torturing him to death. And what I didn't realize until I got there, even though I've been steeped in the case, I know his relatives, I know his wife Stella, is that he was never charged with a crime in Great Britain. Never. He was charged with no crime. So in the free world, we don't hold people who haven't been charged with a crime. And we don't hold them in my country beyond a year unless they've been convicted of a crime or they're on trial for a crime. That's just the most obvious abuse of human rights. And it went on for 12 years. And he's an Australian. And I'm sorry, I don't mean this as a criticism, just I think this is a perspective providing observation. But like, why did anyone allow that? He was held in the UK on behalf of the United States, which, by the way, until recently hadn't charged him with a crime either. And when it did charge him with a fake crime under an ancient statute that no one has ever charged under, the Espionage Act, to which he pleaded guilty, apparently, finally, yesterday, He didn't violate it, but he just wanted to get out of prison before he died. But he wasn't charged in the US. He wasn't charged in the UK. He was an Australian. And those three countries are aligned more closely than countries typically are. They're three of the Five Eyes, as you know. And nobody did anything about it. And I kept thinking, like, when is Australia going to send a warship up the Thames to get their guy back? I mean it. I mean, what is that? I don't know if the outrage of it. I've been to London a lot recently, and now I've been in Australia for a week, and there's just absolutely no comparison. And I do think it's very important to update our files, which is to say our perceptions of things are very often way out of date, in some cases centuries out of date. And I think the perception, perhaps here I can't speak for you, but around the world is there's this, the mothership, Great Britain, that gave birth to all these other successful countries, including the one that I live in, and that it somehow has like moral authority as a result of that. Well, if you haven't been to London recently, book a ticket and then fly back here. In fact, why don't you just fly from London to Perth, assuming there are direct flights, and ask yourself, what do I notice? One city is crumbling, it's filthy, it's been so misruled by the people in charge that unless you're rich, you can't live there. And you come back to, and that's not an exaggeration, go to London, seriously. And you come back to Perth, and I know everyone makes fun of Perth in Western Australia, but as an outsider, I mean, it's like San Francisco without the junkies. It's one of the prettiest places I've ever seen in my life. And I thought, I don't even know who rules this. I don't understand the details of the politics. I'm a foreigner. But whoever is managing this place day to day is doing a remarkable job. There are very few cities in the world as pretty as your cities. And I know that you're so isolated and just far away in the Southern Hemisphere. And you might not have perspective on that, but some of the capitals that you read about and in some cases genuflect toward, consider superior, take orders from, have no right to give you orders because they're in no sense superior to you. In fact, they're inferior to you by a lot. And London is at the top of that list. So I guess my bottom line advice, and I mean this in a spirit of generosity and humility, but is, understand how impressive Australia is in comparison to the rest of the world, particularly the English-speaking world. Australia has advantages that the rest of us, the other four of the Five Eyes, can only dream about. You're sparsely populated, 26 million well-educated, decent people, law-abiding people. You have virtually no real poverty, no concentrations of poverty in this country. It's like the most middle-class English-speaking country left in the world, which is a huge compliment. That's what you want. It's basically an egalitarian country. Egalitarian countries are stable countries. Bolivia is not stable because it's, pyramid-shaped. This is pretty flat. It's the last flat country economically in the English-speaking world. And its natural resources, dwarf everyone else's. I mean, I do think one of the great lies that we in the modern world have been told is that prosperity is generated by banks and real estate. And that's it. Then money lending is the engine of prosperity. And in the short term, that of course can be true because it juices that, that mysterious thing we call GDP, which is a measure of economic activity. But over time, it doesn't actually create wealth. That's a lie. What creates wealth is productivity, and what's required for productivity are resources, and you have more resources than virtually anybody. Bauxite, coal, ore, gas, nickel, copper, lead, uranium, more than almost anybody else in a country with almost no problems, except the ones that you allow your leaders to intentionally import. And pretty much nobody lives here. I just flew over, most of your country this morning. There was nobody there. Sheep, dingoes, desert, and I know, a lot of it's inhospitable, but just people from crowded countries, which is most countries in the world, look at this and they, in envy. This should be one of the most powerful countries in the world. In fact, by its nature, it is, because it has more than almost anybody else. And so to take orders from some disgusting, filthy, fog-soaked one of your citizens hostage because they sent your ancestors here as a penalty. At a certain point, I think you need to say to them, I'm sorry, it's 2024. We're in charge. You're taking orders from us. And if it, I mean it, actually. And I shouldn't say this because I know that there are members of parliament present, but maybe you should take your refugee budget and buy a nuclear weapon or two so people take you seriously. I'm not joking. If you don't screw this country up on purpose through mass immigration, which is what the other 4 countries have done, that's the reason they're in decline. No one wants to say it, it's true. If you don't do that, Australia will lead the world because you have every advantage. And people are happy here. And so my strong advice to you is don't go of your cousins in our countries. I mean, Canada, of all countries in the world, I would say Canada is the closest in its sort of essential facts to Australia. It's huge. It's actually bigger than Australia. Second biggest land mass in the world. Amazing natural resources. An incredibly nice, polite population, well-educated, with a history of valiant war service. You know, sort of everything you would want. A little boring. That's good. Exciting countries are wildly overrated. Las Vegas is exciting. You wouldn't live there, right? There's something to be said about a country whose, main forms of excitement are Molson and sled dogs. That's not bad. And that country basically killed itself through bad leadership. They completely changed the population of the country in 10 years, completely, and made it poor. And now people can't buy houses there. The economy's in free fall. People who are born in Canada cannot buy a house, period, because there are just too many people. And I'm sure some of them are great people. And by the way, just to be completely clear, I'm utterly sympathetic to people who want to move to my country, for example. We let in 30 million people illegally in the last 4 years. That's a crime, but I'm not mad at them. I'm actually flattered by it. They want to move to my country. Of course they do, because it's the best country. That's how I feel. It's like someone saying your wife is hot. Yeah, I think so too. You can't have her, but I'm glad you appreciate it. I mean, honestly, that's how I feel. I don't begrudge any immigrant from any country wanting to move to the United States because I love the United States above all. I am American. So it's not a question of being mad at immigrants. I'm completely sympathetic. In fact, I'm empathetic. I can't wait to get back to my country. But that doesn't mean that the movement of millions of people, mostly with low skills and no, native command of the language and no shared culture of the people who already live there, doesn't mean it's good for the country itself. It's not good, actually. It's bad. It's the most destructive thing you can do to a country. That's not racism. That's not hate. I'm not racist and I don't feel hate. I feel true compassion and empathy. But the purpose of running a government is to take care of the people who are citizens of that country. There's no other purpose. It's not to save the world or change the global climate or whatever. And it's certainly not to spend a huge percentage of your budget on refugee resettlement. It's to take care of the people who are born there. That's your job in the same way a father's job is to take care of his children, not the neighbor's kids. And there's something almost beyond dereliction of duty in not doing that. In other words, I have 4 children, for example, and if a couple of them were in real trouble, as people in all of our countries are, the native-born population in actual trouble, one of my kids has leukemia, for example, or another one has a drug problem, and I say, that's tough, I'm really sorry, but the neighbor's kids literally have never been to Disney World, ever. And that's just wrong. And so I'm going to take my retirement account and cash it out and take the neighbor's kids to Disney World. Because everyone should have a chance to go to Disney World. See ya, and I leave. What's the message I'm sending to my own children? I hate you. I'm ignoring your problems because I'm focused on the problems of people who aren't in our family. It's kind of that simple. A leader's sacred responsibility is to take care of his own people, period. Period. There is no other responsibility. That's why he's elected. That's why he's in charge. That's why you're dad. Doesn't mean you don't like the neighbor's kids or think they should go to Disney World. Everyone should go to Disney World. But the priority has to be, if you're dad, your kids, because you're their father. So if you're the prime minister of a country and you find yourself spending all of your time worrying about the populations of other countries, you are not a legitimate leader. Period. By definition, we have someone in our country who sort of said that out loud. I thought it was, whatever, leaving aside any other quality, being orange or whatever qualities you think Trump has or doesn't have, that was his core pitch in 2016, and there was sort of no arguing against it. Like, how is that wrong? How is a leader's job not to prioritize his own people? Of course it is. No one can make a rational argument against that, so they don't. They attack anybody who raises questions about it. And in the rest of those other countries, including mine, they're starting to criminalize complaining about it. In other words, this is a great thing, and if you say otherwise, we'll put you in jail. And they're planning to do that here, in case you don't know. They've absolutely done that in Canada. In the UK, they put a lot of people in prison for complaining about it. hey, I don't think you're taking care of the people who are born here. Shut up, racist, you're going to jail. Actually, every week people go to jail for that. Imagine that. Imagine that. And imagine the mindset that allows that. If you are telling people, human beings, adult citizens, that they don't have a right to express what they believe, what are you saying? Well, what you're saying is, I don't think you're human. Because the right to say what you think pre-exists government. It's something that you're born with as a human being. It's what distinguishes you from animals and slaves. That's the core of your human autonomy, the right to say what you really believe, to express your conscience. And if you no longer possess that, you are not human anymore. You belong to someone else. You are an object. And so any leader who tells you, you don't have a right to say that, you don't have a right to criticize me or my policies, that person considers you subhuman. And that's a crime.
Tucker Carlson, honestly, I must confess that I am really, really impressed. I am really impressed. I love the way he, related this whole thing to family. Like first saying, okay, you think my wife is hot, but you can't have her. Those are immigrants. I must confess, I never knew immigrants were this harmful to a country. Okay, fine, you love America. Even me, I love America. And I'm a Nigerian, yeah? Majority of Nigerians, they are leaving Nigeria to go abroad because the economy is so bad. The suffering is too much. People are leaving. Majority, everybody is leaving. Majority of my friends have left Nigeria to the US. They're immigrants. They're going there to search for jobs, to search for food. A lot of them like that. And I see a lot of reasons with what he said, saying, okay, yeah, I'm a father, I have my own children, they have serious issues, and then the neighbor's children. So why would I take the neighbor's children to Disney World when my own children are having more serious issues? So yeah, the Americans are going there to meet. They also have their own issues, they also have their own problems, and they're also trying to make ends meet. And we Nigerians, I'm using Nigeria as an example because I'm a Nigerian, we are going over there to, we are going there with our own problems to add more problems for them. There are no jobs here. We are going there to search for jobs. We're going there to, So it is just crazy. And I see reasons with what he said. Fine, there's empathy. They sympathize that, okay, these people are actually coming because they need hope. They are tired, they are suffering, and all of that. Fine, they have the empathy, but then what should they do? So I have a feeling that once Trump comes into presidency, he's definitely going to send all the immigrants back to their country. Like, bro, go back to your country. I'm not going to lie. Like, so many of my friends have told me, let's get out of this country. Why are you still here? Like, a lot of them have been saving up flight tickets. They're saving up for their visas to travel out. And I'm like, okay, I don't really feel imposed. I don't really feel that. Let me travel out. And I don't really feel it because going out there, I don't even know what I'm going there to meet. Okay? Because the way we are complaining here, they're also complaining abroad. They're complaining in America that things are not really going well. People are complaining. So why am I leaving my country, going down there and add more problem for them? So I don't really support people traveling out of their country, going to another country, and you're going there because you have problems. Why don't fix the problem in your country? Fine, you can travel to other countries just to have fun, tourism, whatever, and you come back to your country. But you going there looking for a job, searching for a job, you look for one means to start a family. Come on. I don't know, but I don't really buy into it. What do you guys think about this video? What are your thoughts on this? Drop a comment down below. I totally enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this video as much as I did, give it a huge thumbs up and please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, join VeraMoore. Hit the subscribe button below, turn on the post notification bell so that you can always be the first person to know whenever a new video drops. And that's guys, see you in my next video. Bye guys.